Hello everyone, thanks for joining me. So in today's video I want to talk about what I think, and again this is going to be very subjective, this is my opinion, what I think are the best exercises for calisthenics or bodyweight training, and which ones you should focus on, especially if you're a beginner, to build a good foundation. Before we get into that though, if you're new here, my name's Lee, welcome to the channel. If you're interested in anything to do with calisthenics or bodyweight training, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you hit that bell icon and turn notifications on, you'll get notified of whenever I upload. If you found the video useful, please give it a thumbs up. It does help this channel to grow, and if you know anyone that this video would help, please give it a share. If you have any questions after this video that you want answered, please comment down below, or if you want to create a discussion, please use that section. With that out of the way, let's get into the video. So I want to talk about some of the best exercises when it comes to calisthenics or bodyweight training, especially if you're a beginner. Some people don't know where to start. They might feel a little bit like, okay, what should I focus on? Because there's so many different exercises out there, there's so many different things, especially when calisthenics, we all think of the gymnastic moves where people are now, Instagrammers follow it, where people are spinning around doing different things. Maybe it's just the idea that people associate calisthenics with just the skill work, whether it's the handstands, whether it's the muscle ups, whether it's the planche, whatever it is. I want to sort of break things down, make it very simple for you, especially if you're a beginner, you're someone that's going to be thinking about getting into calisthenics. What exercises give you a good foundation, and what calisthenics exercises should you focus on? So when it comes to me, and this is something that I'm doing now because I'm very into a minimalist sort of style of training anyway, so this fits in very well with what I do anyway, and this is sort of when I talk to people about calisthenics, I always promote these basic core exercises because I feel like they build a good foundation. If you were to focus on just these exercises, I feel that you would be able to, you'd be very strong, you'd be very fit, you'd have a good athletic body, obviously depending on what you eat and what your genetics are and everything like that. And it gives a good foundation if you want to in the future move on to some of the skills or more of the advanced exercises. These have built a good foundation that you can go off from. Okay, so I like to break it up into, you could call it, you know, back or different body parts, but I think of it as which movements that you're going to be doing as well. So for me, if I was to do, say, back workout, I would say make sure you have some form of a vertical pull. You've got to. The pull-up is one of the key exercises. Everyone thinks of calisthenics as the pull-up. That is the king of all exercises when it comes to this style of training. You've got to do a pull-up. Do you have to do a pull-up, or could you do a neutral grip, or could you do a chin-up? It's up to you. Pick which one you like. If you want, and you're someone that trains with high frequency, you do have the ability of doing different ones each time, but you want to get a vertical pull. I find if you're going to focus on moving on to different exercises, and you want it to be a bit more of a functional way of training, I would say stick with the pronated, knuckles facing you pull up, because again, that's going to lead to different exercises, whether you're doing the front levers, whether you want to get into muscle ups and different things like that. That is probably going to be the best way to be able to balance it. But for some people, it might be a little bit difficult on the shoulders, on the joints, being in that position, especially at the bottom. You might find it uncomfortable. One way you can get around that is by using something that will move, whether it's rings, whether it's a suspension trainer, whether it's the angle 90 grips that allow you to start in that position. You can rotate. You've got flexibility there, but you can do any one of them. As long as you've got a vertical pull, that is going to be a key exercise that you should go for, and you can start with something basic with maybe 2 or 3 sets, and you can work between the 8 or 12 rep range if you're a beginner. If you're someone that wants to focus on getting bigger and stronger, I do recommend working in the 5 to 8 rep range. The next one we're going to be working at is another back one, but we're going to be thinking on a horizontal pull, and for me it's always going to be the inverted row. I think it's an exercise, whether you're a beginner, whether you're advanced, it's something you want to be adding into your training, not just because it's a good exercise to do and it's a great way to build foundation, but I do feel that it's definitely good for posture, and for when you're doing the pull-ups, it does hit the mid-back, but sometimes that might be a little bit neglected, especially if you do a lot of pushing exercises. It can affect your posture and the imbalances within your shoulders. So by doing some inverted rows, you can strengthen the mid-back, you can strengthen the rear delts, and create that sort of muscular balances where everything is in order, as opposed to people tend to be quite rounded and they don't do a lot of mid-back work. So an inverted row is a great exercise to do. It's one of my favorites. It's definitely one of those ones I feel the contraction in my back better in the inverted row than I actually do the pull-up, and it's a firm favorite of mine. One of my favorite ways to do it is actually with rings. Again, you've got that rotation and you can set the width the way that you want, and I feel it's a great exercise that you should be doing. And again, you can use that to build good strength in the mid-back, especially especially if you're going to go into front lever work, to be able to hold yourself in that position, you have to have good mid-back strength. So that's something, if you want to lead down to there, it's something you want to build. Again, same with the pull-ups, and this is going to go with all the exercises, okay? If you're a beginner, say 3 sets of 8 to 12 to build up that endurance, to build up that movement pattern, to learn the exercise, and to be able to train the connective tissue. More reps is going to be better for that. Start at 8 to 12 if you're relatively new, and if you're someone that wants to focus on getting bigger and stronger, focus on the 5 to 8 range. When it comes to the pushing, okay, chest work, whatever it is, break it down again from a vertical to a horizontal. So for me, a push-up is one of the best ones, especially if you're going to be going into, you want to learn how to do like the planche push-up or anything like that. The push-up is your bread and butter, and there's loads of different ways in which you can make it harder, whether it's the normal one to close grip, whether it's an uneven one, working towards a one-arm one, or again, if you want to start getting into like pseudo planche push-ups to basically put more of a stress on the shoulders, you can do that. You've got a lot of variations that you can do, and it's something that you can do anywhere as well, so that's a good one to do. The next one, that's going to be for your horizontal. The next one for vertical, and you can go different ways. You can do a handstand push-up or handstand balance work if you're not strong enough, or the dip. And I know a lot of people will feel, okay, well, I would rather do the dip over the push-up because the push-up's too easy. Again, you can make the push-up harder, especially if you've got a weighted vest, that's going to be good. But the dip is still a vertical pushing down, and I kind of feel like they both do pretty much the same job. So I would recommend moving more towards the handstand push-up, especially if you want to start going into handstand balance and start doing skill work like that. Being able to do some direct shoulder work like that is going to be more beneficial, but you can play around with it. You have that flexibility whether you want to alternate between doing push-ups and dips, or you want to be doing dips and handstands. You have that flexibility, but I'd recommend doing just the two. Don't do all three, because again, that's going to create imbalances from doing 3 pushing to only 2 back. Okay, so there are the 3 main exercises that you can do. At the minute, I'm mainly focusing on push-ups and handstand push-ups, and I feel like you're hitting everything from different angles, and it's good. The handstand push-up as well, it's going to help you to build stable shoulders. It's going to train the rotator cuffs. It's going to be able to build and strengthen that stability of the shoulder joint, which is very, very important, especially once you start advancing to more advanced, more challenging moves. So that's going to be those ones. When it comes to the legs, again, this can depend on what equipment you have, what mobility you have, but I feel like you're never going to go wrong when it comes to doing a lunge. You do it forward, whether you do it back, side, whatever it is. By doing unilateral work, it not only trains the leg, but it's also going to train stability, balance and coordination, which is going to be handy in everyday life. And I do feel that one-legged work is more beneficial in life, because whenever we do something, it's one leg at a time, whether it's hiking, whether it's going up steps, whether it's doing sprints. So being able to train your legs in that manner while training the stability, coordination and balance is very, very beneficial, especially if you do sports and different things like that. So I think a lunge is a key exercise, and you can make that, you can swap that around if you want to start going into maybe doing some step ups, like real deep step ups. They are quite challenging. If you then want to lead on to maybe doing pistol squats, if you've got the mobility to, or even shrimp squats, they pretty much do a similar thing. You're just changing how the body moves, whether the legs in front or behind, and they can be a little bit more challenging on the body. But you can also use rings or Spencer train to hold you up, or a bar that you can put your hand on for a little bit of balance and to assist you if they are a little bit too hard than say doing the lunge. And then the other thing that you might want to look into is maybe doing some form of bridging, or maybe some like hamstring work, because obviously when you're doing the lunge, you are pretty much hitting the whole entire leg, but people tend to focus more on the quads, where you do want to pay a lot of attention to your hamstrings and your glutes, and especially because a lot of us, we sit down a lot of the time, people's glutes aren't activating properly, and a lot of time people have tight hamstrings because the hamstrings taking over the work. So if we can do work that is going against what we tend to do in everyday life now, which is a lot of sitting, and we're making certain muscles get tighter and certain muscles get weaker, by doing a lot of hamstring and glute work, I feel that is going to be good to help repair some of that lifestyle activities that we're doing. So again, the lunge is going to hit the whole entire leg, but I think if you're going to do a little bit of bridging, that's going to hit the whole entire posterior chain. That's going to be fantastic. Or if you're going to start doing maybe some hamstring curls or using some Nordic curls, things like that, I think it's going to be very, very beneficial. One thing that I would maybe add in, if you're going to be doing a little bit of core work, is some sort of lower back work, whether it's some hyper extensions, and maybe a little bit of core work, whether you want to do leg raises, whether on the bar, on a dip bar, or on the floor. can be beneficial, and I think you will pretty much hit everything. And if you want to add them as a superset to sort of speed them up, that'd be quite good. The other thing you can do for a little bit of lower back work is, if you've got access to it, is maybe doing something like kettlebell swings. Again, it's a very functional move, and it's very, very good for activating the posterior chain and getting the legs working and also getting your heart rate going. But you want to be doing a little bit of lower back work, a little bit of core work, to be able to, if you have a strong core, it allows you to transfer energy between the upper body and lower body more efficiently, and it's going to make it more injury proof. So a little bit of core work. I feel like you don't need to be doing all these different versions of crunches, and crunches I don't think are that great anyway. They're putting your body in that flexion position, which I don't think is good for your back. But you want to be doing some lower back work, and you want to be doing some core, and I think leg raises pretty much hit the whole entire core anyway, and doing some form of hyperextension is going to be good for your back as well, at least getting it more mobile and moving it again. By sitting down a lot, we have that curved spine, which isn't good, so we want to be strengthening that area as well, and strengthening the unison between the lower back, the glutes and the hamstrings working together. So those are the key exercises that I think you should focus on. One thing that is really, really good to be able to give you a good structure to be able to work off when it comes to reps and sets and things like that, the focus around these key exercises is going to be convict conditioning. So if you can work with the convict conditioning, that might be a really good way to go, and that will give you a good structure and a foundation to follow, especially if you're a beginner and you're new to this sort of style of training. But that's it for today, guys. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you loved it, consider subscribing. Comment down below if you have any other questions or you want to create a discussion, and I will see you in the next video.